A tremor runs through you, a tightening in the chest, a quickening of breath. The mind races, painting vivid scenarios of potential pain, of failure exposed, of the unknown looming like a shadowy figure. This is fear. Often maligned, frequently avoided, it stands as a sentinel at the gates of your greatest expansion. We are taught to subdue it, to eradicate its presence, to strive for a life devoid of its disquieting touch. But what if this primal sensation, this deeply ingrained response, is not an adversary to be vanquished, but a vital messenger, a potent fuel for the very growth we seek? Consider the fledgling bird, perched at the edge of the nest. Below lies the vast expanse of the sky, an invitation to freedom yet fraught with perceived peril. Fear, that instinctive pull to safety, urges it to remain within the familiar confines. But within that fear resides the very energy needed for its first flight. It is the tension before the leap, the surge of adrenaline that accompanies the initial, uncertain wing beats. Without that inherent apprehension, the drive to overcome it, the bird might never experience the liberation of soaring. Fear, in its essence, is information. It signals a perceived discrepancy between our current capabilities and the demands of a new situation. It highlights the potential for loss, for discomfort, for a disruption of our equilibrium. To disregard it entirely is to court recklessness. But to allow it to dictate our boundaries is to construct a prison of limitations, a self-imposed cage that restricts our movement and stunts our development. Think of the innovator on the cusp of a breakthrough. Their idea challenges conventional wisdom. Their methods deviate from established norms. Fear of ridicule, fear of failure, fear of being wrong can be a powerful deterrent. Yet, it is precisely this apprehension, this awareness of the stakes, that can sharpen their focus, refine their arguments, and ultimately drive them to rigorously test and validate their vision. The fear becomes a crucible, forging their idea into something resilient and impactful. Ralph Waldo Emerson, in his exploration of the individual spirit, recognized the duality inherent in experiences often perceived as negative. He understood that challenges, while uncomfortable, often hold the seeds of profound advancement. While he didn't explicitly focus on fear in the way we understand it today, his emphasis on self-reliance and confronting the unknown implicitly acknowledges the need to move through discomfort and apprehension to achieve personal mastery. His call to do the thing you fear, and the death of fear is certain, speaks directly to the transformative power of facing what unnerves us. Your comfort zone, that familiar territory of routine and predictability, offers a temporary respite from the disquiet of fear. But growth rarely occurs within its boundaries. Like a muscle that atrophies without exertion, your capacity to navigate the unknown weakens with prolonged inaction. Fear, while uncomfortable, serves as the necessary resistance, the weight that strengthens your resilience and expands your capabilities when consciously confronted. Consider the entrepreneur with a compelling business idea but hesitant to launch. Fear of financial loss, fear of market rejection, fear of the sheer effort involved can keep them in a state of perpetual planning. Yet it is the very act of confronting these anxieties, of stepping into the uncertainty of the market, that provides invaluable learning, builds practical skills, and ultimately determines the viability of their venture. The initial fear, when acted upon, becomes the catalyst for real-world experience and potential success. The stories of human progress are often etched with the overcoming of collective fears. From navigating uncharted oceans to reaching for the stars, humanity has consistently pushed beyond perceived limitations, driven by a blend of curiosity and the necessity to confront inherent anxieties. Each step into the unknown, while accompanied by apprehension, has expanded our understanding of the world and our place within it. Think of the early pioneers of aviation, defying the seemingly insurmountable barrier of gravity. The inherent risks were undeniable, the potential for catastrophic failure palpable. Yet, their unwavering pursuit, fueled by a desire to conquer the skies and a willingness to face their fears, ultimately led to the development of air travel, forever altering human connection and global commerce. Fear can manifest in countless forms: the dread of public speaking, the hesitation before a difficult conversation, the reluctance to pursue a creative endeavor, the anxiety surrounding change. Each instance, however uncomfortable, presents an opportunity for expansion. By acknowledging the fear, without succumbing to its paralyzing grip, we create space for courage to emerge, for new skills to develop, and for our sense of self-efficacy to strengthen. Consider the individual terrified of public speaking, yet compelled by a message they believe is important. The initial attempts may be fraught with nervousness, with trembling hands and a wavering voice, but with each conscious act of facing that fear, with each presentation delivered, their confidence grows, their communication skills sharpen, and the power of their message amplifies. The initial fear becomes the very forge that tempers their voice. Ralph Waldo Emerson's emphasis on nonconformity and trusting one's own intuition often requires confronting the fear of social disapproval. To stand apart from the crowd, to follow a path less traveled, can evoke anxieties about judgment and isolation. Yet, it is in navigating this social apprehension, in valuing one's own inner voice above the dictates of conformity, that true individuality and meaningful contribution often arise. Think of the artist who dares to create work that challenges conventions, that provokes thought, and stirs emotions, even in the face of potential criticism or misunderstanding. Their willingness to confront the fear of negative reception allows their unique vision to reach the world, potentially sparking dialogue and shifting perspectives. The key lies not in the absence of fear, but in our relationship with it. To view it as an insurmountable obstacle is to surrender before the battle begins, but to recognize it as a signal, as a surge of energy that can be channeled, is to transform it from a deterrent into a propellant. Fear, when understood and navigated consciously, can become the very force that pushes us beyond our perceived limits. Consider the athlete preparing for a personal best. The anticipation of the challenge, the fear of falling short, can be intense. Yet it is this very apprehension that fuels their training, sharpens their focus, and drives them to push their physical and mental boundaries. The fear becomes the edge that hones their performance. Fear often masks a deeper desire, a yearning for growth or achievement that lies just beyond the perceived danger. By acknowledging the fear and then looking beneath its surface, we can often uncover the very aspirations that truly motivate us. The fear becomes a signpost pointing towards what we value and what we are compelled to pursue. Think of the individual hesitant to start a new relationship due to past hurt. The fear of vulnerability, of potential heartbreak, can be overwhelming. Yet beneath that fear lies the deep human desire for connection and intimacy. Recognizing this underlying yearning can provide the courage to navigate the anxieties and open oneself to new possibilities. Ralph Waldo Emerson's belief in the inherent potential within each individual suggests that fear is often a manifestation of our own perceived limitations, rather than an accurate reflection of external reality. By cultivating self-trust and recognizing our innate capacity for growth, we can diminish the power that fear holds over us. Think of Elon Musk, pursuing seemingly audacious goals, like colonizing Mars, despite the immense technical and financial challenges and the high probability of setbacks. His unwavering belief in the potential of human ingenuity and his willingness to confront the inherent fears associated with such ambitious undertakings drive him forward, inspiring innovation on a grand scale. The journey of growth is not a smooth, linear progression. It is often marked by moments of discomfort, of uncertainty, of confronting our deepest anxieties. But it is precisely in these moments, when fear arises, that the opportunity for significant expansion lies. By choosing to move through the fear, rather than retreating from it, we unlock new levels of resilience, capability, and self-understanding. Consider the individual embarking on a significant life change, such as a career transition or a move to a new city. The fear of the unknown, the disruption of routine, can be significant. Yet by embracing that discomfort, by actively engaging with the challenges, they often discover new strengths, new perspectives, and a greater sense of adaptability. The initial fear becomes the gateway to a richer, more expansive experience. Therefore, do not seek to eradicate fear from your life. Instead, cultivate a new relationship with it. Learn to recognize its signals, to understand its underlying messages, and to harness its energy as a catalyst for growth. Embrace the tremor, acknowledge the quickening breath, and step forward, knowing that on the other side of your apprehension lies the very expansion you seek. Fear, when faced with courage and understanding, is not a barrier, but the very fuel that propels you towards your greatest potential. The tendency to avoid fear is deeply ingrained, often reinforced by a societal narrative that equates vulnerability with weakness. We are encouraged to project an image of unwavering strength, to conceal our anxieties, and to seek out paths of least resistance. Yet, true strength lies not in the absence of fear, but in the courage to acknowledge its presence and to act in spite of it. It is the willingness to be vulnerable, to step into the arena of uncertainty, knowing that growth often blossoms in the fertile ground of discomfort. Think of Franklin D. Roosevelt, leading a nation through the profound anxieties of the Great Depression and the looming threat of global war. His calm demeanor and resolute pronouncements were not an absence of fear, but a conscious channeling of it, a projection of unwavering belief designed to inspire confidence and action in a time of widespread apprehension. His ability to acknowledge the nation's fears while simultaneously projecting strength was a crucial element of his leadership. Fear can act as a powerful mirror, reflecting back to us the areas where we perceive a lack of competence or control. Instead of recoiling from this reflection, we can choose to examine it with curiosity, identifying the specific skills or knowledge that might alleviate the anxiety. The fear then becomes a roadmap, guiding us towards the very areas of development that will lead to greater confidence and capability. Consider the individual who experiences anxiety around financial insecurity. Instead of simply avoiding the topic or succumbing to worry, they can use that fear as a catalyst to educate themselves about financial planning, to develop new income streams, or to create a more secure financial foundation. The initial fear becomes the impetus for proactive learning and positive change. Just as unwavering self-belief, which we explored previously, acts as an internal anchor amidst doubt, a healthy relationship with fear provides an internal guidance system for navigating the unknown. It prompts us to prepare, to assess risks, and to proceed with caution when necessary. But it should not be allowed to become the sole arbiter of our decisions, dictating a retreat from anything that feels remotely unsettling. Think of the seasoned mountaineer preparing for a challenging ascent. They acknowledge the inherent dangers, the real risks involved. Fear is present, a natural response to the environment, but it does not paralyze them. Instead, it fuels their meticulous planning, their rigorous training, and their unwavering focus on safety protocols. The fear becomes a catalyst for preparedness and calculated action. Ralph Waldo Emerson's emphasis on the individual's capacity for transformation aligns with the idea that our relationship with fear is not fixed. We can learn to reframe our anxieties, to see them not as threats, but as challenges to be overcome. This shift in perspective from victim to agent is a crucial step in harnessing the power of fear for personal growth. Consider the individual who has experienced failure in the past and now approaches new ventures with significant apprehension. By consciously reframing those past experiences, not as definitive proof of inadequacy, but as valuable lessons learned, they can begin to approach new challenges with a more resilient and growth-oriented mindset, diminishing the paralyzing effect of fear. Fear often thrives in the absence of clarity. When faced with the unknown, the mind can conjure a multitude of negative possibilities, amplifying anxiety. By actively seeking clarity, by gathering information, by defining the specific potential risks, we can often diminish the amorphous dread that fear can generate. Knowledge in this context is a powerful antidote to unwarranted apprehension. Think of the individual facing a significant career change. The uncertainty of a new industry, new roles, new colleagues can be daunting. By actively researching the new field, networking with professionals, and gaining a clearer understanding of the potential challenges and opportunities, they can reduce the anxiety associated with the unknown and approach the transition with greater confidence. The concept of resilience, our ability to bounce back from adversity, is inextricably linked to our relationship with fear. Those who have learned to navigate their anxieties, to persevere through uncomfortable situations, develop a greater capacity to withstand future challenges. Each instance of overcoming fear strengthens our resilience muscle. Consider the entrepreneur whose initial business venture fails. The fear of repeating past mistakes can be significant when considering a new endeavor. However, by analyzing the reasons for the previous failure, learning from those experiences, and approaching the new venture with that acquired knowledge, they demonstrate resilience and diminish the paralyzing power of past anxieties. Think of the individual who feels overwhelmed by a large, complex project. The fear of failure can lead to procrastination and avoidance. However, by breaking the project down into smaller, more manageable tasks and taking consistent action on those smaller steps, they build a sense of progress and diminish the overwhelming feeling of fear. Gratitude, the conscious appreciation for what we have, can also play a role in mitigating the negative impact of fear. By focusing on our strengths, our resources, and the positive aspects of our lives, we can create a sense of stability and diminish the feeling of vulnerability that often underlies anxiety. Consider the individual facing a challenging health diagnosis. While fear is a natural response, focusing on the support systems they have, the available treatment options, and their own inner strength can foster a sense of hope and agency, counteracting the purely negative aspects of fear. Adaptability, the willingness to adjust our approach in the face of changing circumstances, is also crucial in navigating fear. When our initial strategies encounter obstacles or trigger anxieties, the ability to pivot, to find alternative solutions, can prevent fear from becoming a roadblock to progress. Think of the explorer encountering unexpected terrain or weather conditions. Their ability to adapt their plans, to utilize their knowledge and resources in new ways, allows them to overcome the challenges and continue their journey, preventing fear from forcing a retreat. Ultimately, the truth about fear is that it is an inherent part of the human experience, a signal that can guide us, a force that can propel us. By shifting our perspective, by learning to understand its messages, and by choosing to act with courage in its presence, we can transform fear from our greatest obstacle into our greatest catalyst for growth. Embrace the tremor, listen to the quickening breath, and step boldly into the arena of your potential, knowing that the very things that scare you often hold the keys to your most profound expansion. The stories we tell ourselves about fear often dictate its power over us. We label it as inherently negative, a sign of weakness, something to be suppressed at all costs. But what if we reframe that narrative? What if we began to see fear not as a monster lurking in the shadows, but as an indicator pointing towards the edges of our current comfort zone, the very frontier where growth and discovery reside? This subtle shift in perspective can be transformative, allowing us to approach our anxieties with curiosity rather than dread. Think of the child learning to ride a bicycle. The initial wobbles, the fear of falling, are palpable. But with each small act of courage, each push of the pedal despite the apprehension, the fear gradually diminishes, replaced by a growing sense of balance and control. The fear was not an insurmountable barrier, but a temporary discomfort overcome through action and a willingness to learn. Learning, the continuous acquisition of new knowledge and skills, is a potent weapon against the paralyzing effects of fear. Many anxieties stem from a perceived lack of competence in a given situation. By actively seeking to understand the unknown, by developing the necessary abilities, we can directly address the root of our apprehension and build the confidence to move forward. Consider the individual who feels anxious about public speaking. Instead of avoiding it entirely, they might enroll in a public speaking course, practice their delivery, and seek feedback. With each step of learning and skill development, their fear gradually recedes, replaced by a growing sense of mastery and self-assurance. Ralph Waldo Emerson's emphasis on direct experience aligns with the idea that the most effective way to overcome fear is often through engagement with the very thing we dread. Intellectual understanding can be helpful, but the true transformation often occurs when we step into the arena, confront our anxieties firsthand, and discover that the reality is often less daunting than our imagination had conjured. Think of the individual who harbors a fear of failure in a particular creative pursuit. They might spend countless hours planning and perfecting in private, never daring to share their work with the world. The true growth, however, comes from the act of putting their creations out there, facing potential criticism, and learning from the experience, thereby diminishing the power of that initial fear. The rhythm of life often involves cycles of comfort and discomfort. Periods of stability are inevitably followed by times of change and uncertainty, which can trigger anxiety. Cultivating an acceptance of this natural ebb and flow, a recognition that discomfort is a temporary but often necessary precursor to growth, can help us navigate fearful situations with greater equanimity. Consider the individual who experiences anxiety during times of significant life transition, such as a job loss or a relationship ending. By accepting that these periods of upheaval are a natural part of life, and focusing on their ability to adapt and learn from the experience, they can mitigate the paralyzing effects of fear and move forward with greater resilience. Mentorship and the guidance of those who have successfully navigated similar fears can provide invaluable support and perspective. Hearing about the experiences of others who have faced their anxieties and emerged stronger can instill hope and provide practical strategies for overcoming our own apprehensions. Think of the aspiring entrepreneur who seeks out mentors who have successfully built businesses. Hearing about the challenges their mentors faced, the fears they overcame, and the strategies they employed can provide both encouragement and actionable insights for navigating their own entrepreneurial anxieties. Gratitude, as mentioned earlier, can also shift our focus away from potential negative outcomes, which often fuel fear, and towards the positive aspects of our lives and our capabilities. By consciously acknowledging what we have and what we have already overcome, we build a stronger foundation of inner security that can buffer the impact of anxiety. Consider the individual facing a challenging medical procedure. While fear is understandable, focusing on the skilled medical professionals, the support of loved ones, and their own inner strength and past resilience can cultivate a sense of hope and diminish the overwhelming nature of their anxiety. Adaptability, our willingness to adjust our strategies and perspectives when faced with the unexpected, is also crucial in navigating fear. When our initial attempts to overcome an anxiety prove ineffective, the ability to try a different approach, to seek new information, or to reframe the situation can prevent fear from becoming a permanent roadblock. Think of the scientist encountering unexpected results in their research, triggering anxieties about the validity of their hypothesis. Their willingness to adapt their approach, to explore new interpretations of the data, and to remain open to unexpected findings can lead to significant breakthroughs, transforming initial fear into scientific progress. Ultimately, the truth about fear is not that it must be conquered and eliminated, but that it must be understood, respected, and ultimately integrated into our journey of growth. It is a powerful signal, a source of energy, and a potential catalyst for profound transformation. By reframing our narrative around fear, by actively learning and engaging with our anxieties, by embracing the natural rhythms of comfort and discomfort, by seeking guidance, and by cultivating gratitude and adaptability, we can unlock its power and allow it to propel us towards a life of greater courage, capability, and fulfillment. The path of growth is not devoid of fear. It is paved with the conscious choices we make in its presence. Step forward, acknowledge the tremor, and embrace the transformative power of your own apprehension. The human spirit possesses an extraordinary capacity for expansion, a constant yearning to reach beyond its current limits. Fear, in its various guises, often stands as the perceived boundary of that expansion. But the truth, as we have explored, is that this sensation, this primal, is not the wall itself, but merely a shadow cast by the uncharted territory ahead. To mistake the shadow for the substance is to confine ourselves to the familiar, to deny the very growth that awaits on the other side. Think of the river, encountering a bend in its course. The water may momentarily hesitate, swirling with a touch of resistance. Yet, its inherent nature, its powerful inclination to flow towards the vastness of the ocean, compels it onward. It adapts to the curve, perhaps carving a new path, but it does not remain stagnant. Your inherent nature, your powerful inclination towards growth and fulfillment, possesses that same unwavering force. Fear is merely the bend in your river, an invitation to adapt, to learn, to find a new way forward. The courage we seek is not the absence of fear, but the determined stride forward in its presence. It is the conscious decision to not let apprehension dictate our limitations, to recognize it instead as a signpost indicating the direction of our potential expansion. Each time we navigate a fearful situation with intention, we not only overcome that specific anxiety, but also strengthen our overall capacity for resilience and growth. So let the moments of fear in your life not be seen as reasons to retreat, but as vital prompts to engage, to learn, and to evolve. Recognize that the discomfort you feel is often the sensation of your boundaries expanding, your capabilities increasing. Embrace the tremor, acknowledge the quickening breath, and understand that these are not signs of weakness, but indicators of a spirit on the verge of significant advancement. Therefore, I urge you now, when fear arises, do not turn away, turn inward. Seek to understand its message, to identify the underlying concern, and then, with conscious intention, take the next step forward, however small it may seem. For it is in these courageous acts, in these moments of choosing growth over comfort, that you will discover the profound truth. Fear, when engaged with awareness and determination, is not your greatest enemy, but your most potent catalyst for becoming more than you ever thought possible. Step into the shadow, and you will find the sunlight of your expanded potential waiting on the other side. Now, as you begin to recognize the transformative power inherent in confronting your fears, you might find yourself pondering another crucial aspect of the journey towards a more fulfilling life, the realization of your deepest aspirations. Why is it that so many individuals, despite their dreams and intentions, ultimately fall short of bringing them into reality? Join us next time as we delve into this critical question, exploring why most people fail to actualize their dreams. We will examine the common pitfalls, the subtle self-sabotaging behaviors, and the essential shifts in mindset and action required to bridge the gap between aspiration and tangible achievement. Thanks for watching. Till next time.